Hi, I'm Victoria, and today I'm going to be answering some questions that I have had from some of my clients and some of you who comment on these videos. And it's about relationships. Today I am going to outline for you the bad boys of the major arcana and the good guys, the dudes and the duds. Are you ready? Because each one of these major arcana males represent archetypes that we meet in our daily lives. And for you to be able to recognize what these archetypes represent and then recognize them in your life on a daily basis, this is going to help you move forward to make some really good choices about the man you want to find and have a long-lasting, healthy, fun relationship with. So let's get started. We're going to begin with the very first male in the major arcana, and boy, is he ever a wonderful one to begin with, the Fool. You know, this archetype, I have to say, is one of my favorites. He's definitely a bad boy of the major arcana. Why? Because while the name may say Fool, what he really represents also is the taking of risks. This is an individual who takes risks and understands that he is indeed a spiritual being who has come into a flesh and blood body to have a human experience. And this is something that he has intentionally done to have this human experience. He also understands that in order to enjoy this life, that he must take risks. Taking risks is what the Fool archetype is all about. And I know that you know guys who do this, who will take a risk simply because it is risky. Think about the people you know who will take a risk simply because it's risky, even though they know they could be giving up something good in their life, but they cannot resist taking a risk. That is the Fool archetype. This may be someone that you want to avoid unless you really enjoy taking risks as well. And then you can have a very fun time with someone like this. But I would not count on this being a long-term relationship because, again, if he's like a fish. If it's shiny and bright, he's probably going to go after it just because there is the fun of it, the fun of the chase, the fun of trying to catch it. But once he catches it, it may not be something that he really wants to hold on to because that is not his nature. So as we begin a look at the major arcana males, the Fool really stands out. Again, I happen to really love this energy, but I also take it for what it is, and that is that this is energy that you're here to have a good time. If you are going out on a date with someone like this, you're going to really enjoy your time with them. You guys are going to have fun. But again, he will be doing something different probably the next night, and probably not with you because something else has caught his attention. So just recognize this about this archetype and know what you're getting into. If this is who you have decided that you want to date or try to be in a serious relationship with, analyze, look at the people that you're dating right now, and if any of these qualities are present in the person that you're dating and you're wanting a long-term relationship, you're probably not going to get it. And again, it's not because there's any malice involved. It's because they can't help it. They can't help but take the risks, even if it means losing someone like you that they might care about. They can't help it. And that's what you have to understand about the Fool energy. Now, for the next of our major arcana bad boys, it's the Magician. This guy, he takes risks as well, but his risks are very calculated. This is a person who's very cocky because he knows he's awesome. He recognizes his individual gifts and talents. And this is somebody that you really, if you are counting on a long-term serious relationship, the timing has to be right for this guy, because the magician knows that he's talented. And while he will take risks like the archetype of the fool, he's not going to take foolish risks. His risks will be calculated. He's going to be coming from a place where he knows that he's probably going to win at this. This is someone who is very good at communicating, probably charismatic, and can sweep you off your feet. Again, a date with the magician archetype, someone who represents that energy, you're going to have a fabulous time. You will probably be the couple that everyone at the party looks at and wishes they were, right? But again, this is not someone with whom, if you do fall in love with them, this is going to be a really hard relationship for you to count on being permanent. Timing is everything with the magician, because can he settle down? Yes, but it is going to take a while. This is a man who is going to go through a lot of dating before he settles for someone that he really feels like, from his calculated point of view, that he cannot do any better, and therefore this is the match that he will settle down for. This is a risk, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And again, like the Fool, he will take risks, but unlike the Fool archetype, he's not going to be so risky that he doesn't feel like he's going to win. The Fool will do whatever catches his attention at that moment, whether it means losing someone that he cares about, losing money, losing a job. The Fool energy is all about just being in the moment and enjoying that moment. The magician is not. The magician knows what he brings to any situation, that will be his talents, that will see him win. So be aware of that. Both of these are the bad boys, a couple of the bad boys of the major arcana. So just be aware of that going forward. But like I said, you will have a really good time if you're just counting on dating them. The next male in the major arcana is the Emperor. And while he looks all fiery here, with his yellow and red and orange, he is nevertheless, this is not someone to trifle with. And I think that is why Lady Frida Harris painted him with these fiery colors, right? Because she knows that he is demonstrative, a leader from the word go. And yet this is an archetype of a man who does exhibit leadership qualities and will be in charge of whatever situation he finds himself in. But leadership that is very prudent, leadership that is always fair. This would be a man who would make a decision based upon what his unbiased opinion is the best decision to make, not based upon how it's going to benefit him. The magician would make a decision based upon how it's going to benefit him, and certainly the Fool will, but the Emperor is not going to, because he accepts his leadership responsibilities. He takes them very seriously, and he recognizes that he has to go forward with this leadership. That is his duty, his responsibility, and he accepts that. So this man in your life would be a good father. He would be a dutiful husband, almost assuredly. can things change and waver? Of course, but that would be basement energy that I call it. This would be an emperor in the basement of his abilities, right? Rather than in the balcony. If you're in the balcony, you are living at your highest potential of what that archetype represents. If you're in the basement, you're at the lowest. So is it possible that something with this emperor archetype could be less than wonderful? Yes, this could be someone who is incredibly strict, has to have things his way, uncompromising. That would be basement energy of the emperor. But by and large, dating someone, looking to have a long-term relationship with someone who represents the archetype of the emperor, yeah, you are going to be with someone who is probably going to work very hard to create a good life for you and for your family. So I would call a good guy of the major arcana. Let's take a look at the next male. It's the Hierophant. The Hierophant represents someone who is going to be very, this is someone that is almost clergy. This is someone who has a very strong spiritual aspect, almost to the point that everything else is excluded in their life. Although they're also a scholar. This is someone who loves to study, but who is also very spiritual, who leans toward esoteric things, who really is on that path of always learning and sharing. This is probably a teacher of some sort in the esoteric arts, or someone in the religious, traditional religious world, who could be a priest or a preacher to be, or currently is. This is the energy of the Hierophant. So if it's a priest, then there is no future with marriage. But if it's a preacher, then maybe this is someone that resonates with you as far as your own spiritual nature. This could be a good pairing, because if that is how you are inclined, then this is going to mean that someone is going to be, while devoted to that path, they'll probably also be devoted to you. Just recognize that there's probably not going to be a lot of excitement, not the kind of excitement certainly that you would have with the Fool or the Magician, certainly not, neither the Emperor, because the first three of these male major arcana represent dynamic energy. The Hierophant is more pulled back into the spiritual realm. So if you recognize someone in your life like this, who is very much on that spiritual path, again, teaching, very much that is a marker for Hierophant energy if they teach in the spiritual arts or in a traditional religious way. And if this resonates with you, then you might be in a very happy relationship long-term with someone like this, because, again, their focus is on that spiritual journey rather than things in another realm, like going out to a party, to a dance or something. Okay. We move from the Hierophant into someone who's even more introverted, the Hermit. This is energy this is someone who's a nerd. This is nerd energy for sure, because this is someone who is very introspective, who spends a lot of time by themselves and prefers it this way. This is a gamer. This is the kind of energy of someone who can spend 12 hours playing a video game. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because if that's what you like to do, then that's fine. This is someone who's very introverted, though. And again, just like the Hierophant, you must recognize that The Hermit is not going to be someone who engages with you a lot. If you're wanting a relationship that is going to feel reciprocated in perhaps the way you might want it, this is a person you'll meet who very much is insular in that way. They could be on a spiritual path as well, and even more so than the Hierophant, because there's not the teaching element, the outgoingness that the Hierophant has as far as being willing to teach and to share their information. The Hermit's not like this. However, the Hermit energy can come out of that introspective state. I'm not saying that they can't, but they prefer being in that. So if you know someone, if you're dating someone who is very much like this, or they stay at home and they just like to read, or whatever that they are involved with that takes them out of the outside world and where their main focus is their interior world, then recognize that this is an archetype that probably is not going to change. And rather than trying to change them, you might consider moving on to someone else who does give you the kind of energy that you desire, that you need. Because remember, in all of these archetypes, when I say archetype, this is energy that they are born with. This is their natural energy that resonates who they truly are. And you're not going to be able to change this. Only they can change it if they choose to do so. And usually they don't choose to do so. So would I call this a good guy or a bad guy? Right in the middle, a dude or a dud. This is a dude. Hierophant's a dude. And so we really do have to recognize that in the people that we meet and are looking to date and move forward with in a relationship. So let's take a look at the next male. The Hanged Man. Let's take a look at this guy, right? I mean, just looking at him hanging upside down doesn't give us an immediate thrill as far as what he is going to bring into a relationship, and you're exactly right about that. The Hanged Man is all about repeating patterns that do not serve him. This is someone who can be very codependent. This is someone who will go into repeated relationships, creating the same sort of situation each time that does not serve him, and probably therefore does not serve the person that he's dating. This is someone that I would call a dud. And, can he change? Yes. Again, any of these archetypes can change if they choose to do so. But this is a man who keeps repeating the same sort of things in his life over and over. And just by getting to know someone, you can find out if they have had the same sorts of relationships over and over again. And if they have, that they've all gone basically in the same course. Being codependent would be a definite marker of this, or just having women ghost him. That would also be a real marker of what the Hanged Man energy is. And this is someone you probably want to avoid. This could be someone who comes across as really someone who brings you flowers each time you go out on a date, or someone who seems overly caring and giving, but then becomes almost an energy vampire, right? Well, we're working with Hanged Man energy here, so recognize this. The next card we're looking at is the Chariot. And while you may not think that this is a person in the deck, it really is. And in fact, in my urban fantasy series that I have written, the Tarot Legacies, the Chariot is as a wonderful character by the name of Cyrus. And Cyrus represents the nature of this major arcana card, which is indeed very male in that this is someone who is determined to be victorious. but takes his time to look at all the options carefully before making a decision. Now, how do you spot someone like this in your life as far as representing an archetype? Again, this is someone who takes his time, who's rarely spontaneous about anything, rather than jumping in and saying, yeah, that sounds like a great idea, let's go do that. Instead, this would be the energy of someone who says, well, maybe I have to take a look at it first. I have to think about this first. And they think about it sometimes for hours or days or, maybe even weeks or months, whether it's about a job or moving, or really it could be about anything. This is a person who takes their time because they are determined to know that the decision that they are making is the best one after looking at every option that could possibly happen in making a choice. So just recognize that dating someone like this can be frustrating. This can represent someone who's very frustrating to date because he will not be making choices quickly. And as far as deciding on things like marriage or children or, again, anything, this is going to be a little frustrating if you are not in that same energy of being willing to be so patient or taking the time to look at every single option thoroughly before making a decision, right? Would this be someone worthy of dating? Yes, it could be frustrating though. So the next card and the final of the male cards in the major arcana is the Devil. This can be female energy too, but I'm putting it in our good guys and bad boys. He's certainly a bad boy because of what energy he represents. This is a person who has addiction issues. This is someone who loves to go out and have a great time, like the Fool energy, but this is someone who unfortunately has a problem with addiction, and it may not be apparent at first. So you have to really pay attention to this energy, because this is, again, someone who would love to, it is spontaneous, would love to go out and have a great time, that you find entertaining because they're very creative. They bring a lot of energy to a situation that you find fun loving. But as you get to know them more, there's an addiction. That's what the shadow represents in the Devil. That's what the Devil energy is all about, is dealing with shadows. Yes, this is someone who can move through the shadow energy, but of course it takes determination and the will to do it, which comes specifically and only from the person themselves. You're not going to be able to change this person who has an addiction issue. Only they can. It's very, very important that you understand that this is who you're dealing with, and that you really need to look at this going forward as far as a very serious archetype and who you could be dating, because this person, unfortunately, is not going to be a long-term relationship. It's not going to be someone that you can rely on, probably. And this is someone that needs to find their own way to help themselves, hopefully. So these are the bad boys and the good guys, some dudes and some duds in the major arcana. And I'm going to quickly go through the royalty cards of the men so that you can see who you could be dealing with as well. And while their energy, the archetype energy, may not be as strong with the royalty, you'll certainly recognize them. The first one that we have come up is Prince of Cups. Again, this is someone who's very much liked the Hanged Man or liked the Hierophant. This is someone who's probably tuned in to their spiritual, emotional needs. This could be someone who's codependent, right? This is Prince of Cups, and he's a good guy. I mean, he's a sweetheart, but he has some real energy issues when it comes to being codependent. This is someone who is probably very much involved in a spiritual life, spiritual pursuit, but he can be just cloying, if you understand what I mean by that. Knight of Cups. Again, this is someone who's probably on the path to priesthood, to being a preacher, some type of spiritual quest. This can be someone that you can trust. And actually both of these, both the Prince of Cups and the Knight of Cups, you can trust these men. But just understand that these are energies that are very much focused on their spiritual life. And therefore, that's what's taking center stage for them. Then we move to Wands. Yeah, here we have the Prince of Wands. This is someone who very much knows where they're headed. And they are on the path to achieve their goals. This is someone who will bring you a lot of satisfaction in a relationship. They're very focused, though, so you have to get their attention. But they can actually be a very good husband, long-term boyfriend, partner. Yeah, the Knight of Wands energy, how do you recognize them? They're just focused. They're very goal-oriented. And yet at the same time, they're not going to mess around with you. You know, this is not someone who would be deceitful in relationships. If it's not working, they would probably tell you it's not working rather than drag out the relationship. So do you know any of these Prince of Wands in your life? If so, then this is someone, if you're looking for a long-term relationship, this might be someone who really could work out in that way. But the Knight of Wands is very different. This is someone who is so goal-oriented, they will stop at nothing to achieve their goal. This is a very A-type personality that if you recognize a person like this in your life, you might want to steer clear of them, because until they reach their goals, and even once they do reach their goal, there will be another goal that they are chasing. This is going to be someone who is going to always be on the move. This is probably someone who changes jobs a lot or has a job that involves a lot of travel. So be aware of the archetype in your life of the Knight of Wands. All right, and so we're going to double up here so you can see everything with the camera. We have the Prince of Swords coming up. Prince of Swords, this is someone who's always going for clarity. This would be a man who is always wanting to get to the heart of a situation, to the truth of the matter. And then we also have the Knight of Swords. Again, intellectuals, both the Prince and the Knight are intellectuals who are always, these are researchers. These are people who are always on a quest. These are people who probably have written books about certain topics that they have dived into and done enormous research on. Again, there's some nerd quality here for these guys, but they're always looking to gain that clarity. Both of these could be men that you would want to get involved with, because these are not deceitful people. These are people who are always out to find the truth about something. So if you recognize men like this in your life, these could actually work. These are some good guys. They're going to be intense, but they are good guys. And then you have the Prince of Discs. This is an architect. It could be literally an architect or someone who builds things. That's what the Prince of Discs is all about, is constructing things, not only in a literal fashion, but metaphorically as well. This is someone who's always very much looking to build something. This would be an entrepreneur, very much an entrepreneur, someone who starts their own business and maybe a venture capitalist. This is energy that, again, this is very dynamic energy. There may not be a whole lot of room in their mind at this point in their life, at this point, for an emotional relationship, because they're very focused on this aspect of building things and moving on to the next thing. And then finally, we have the Knight of Discs. The Knight of Discs is a healer. Again, this can be someone who is literally a healer, a doctor, someone in the medical profession. And this is someone who's all about transformation and taking a situation and making it better. This is a good person to align yourself with, to date, and someone that you could have a life moving forward with, because they are all about this energy of making things whole. And there's a lot of probably honesty around this archetype. There's definite potential to have a future with this person. And so, as we have laid out all of these major arcana males and the royalty cards of the males, these are all archetypes, archetype energy that you see resonating with men every single day. And by looking and understanding at what all of these archetypes represent, you will suddenly be able to see how the relationship you're in, or the people, the men that you are meeting, could potentially be partners in life for you, or maybe just someone for you to date. But if you're interested in looking for a very serious relationship with someone, look at each one of what these arcana cards that I have laid out for you here, and think about all the men in your life, and let me know if you have gained some insight from the information that I have shared with you, because this certainly depicts the men who are out there and the men that you are interacting with right now. Good luck moving forward with this, and let me know how it goes.